Binaka, good evening, namaste. You're watching Fiji Village Street Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan, and as promised, we have our guest tonight addressing a number of issues tonight, and we've just had the Prime Minister coming in, and we apologize for a bit of delay in starting off the program, but despite his busy schedule, he's made it to Fiji Village Street Talk tonight. And I'm your host for tonight again, Vijay Narayan, and we'll be speaking on a number of issues on behalf of our listeners and viewers. Mr. Prime Minister, welcome back on the show.
Vijay, it's been some time, eh?
Been some time. We've been trying to get you, and we know that you've been busy, but again, as part of our show, important that we are just 1 week away from the end of October, and 2 months away from you being the head of our government from December last year. For transparency and accountability, Fiji Village Straight Talk, we talk about important issues, look at things that are going on, objectives for the remaining weeks of this year, how things have progressed. Please note, there's no personal attacks, there's no personal agenda, it's just clear-cut, straight question and straight answer. So, Mr. Prime Minister, you announced 4 changes to your cabinet. What are the main reasons for the announced reshuffle?
I had looked at our performance over time, and I thought that we'd get some more injection of energy into some areas. But I was advised against the change in our legal practitioners who are now in cabinet. So I have decided that will not happen, because I've taken account of the concerns raised by the Fiji Law Society, and they are the experts in the area. There are some very senior lawyers in that organization. But I also understand that, as lawyers, they take cases to court. Some may be asked by a client, will you take up my case? So they go believing that their client is right. And on the other side, there'll be other lawyers who believe that his client has done something wrong. So they argue in the point of law, and that takes place in court. So they need a judge. In this case, there has been no judge. I have taken some advice initially, and then the Law Society came up with their concerns, and I give them a lot of credit. They wouldn't have written something on something that's trivial, in the sense of the administration of government, the administration of the law within government. So I thought, okay, let me listen to them, and got my own advice from within government. That's the Solicitor General's office. The advice came, I weighed everything up, and I said, okay, we will not go into that, into the change of the Attorney General and the Minister for Lands. We will keep them where they are.
Same advice from Solicitor General is the same as Fiji Law Society?
Basically, yes.
Basically, yes. Okay, why did you do it on Friday evening on Facebook and social media platforms when things went alive there? Came as a shock to many.
I didn't do it on Facebook. Somebody put it on Facebook.
So who put it on Facebook?
Those that do the Facebook postings. I didn't.
You didn't do it?
No.
Why was this also released without any proper gazetted ministerial assignments?
There has been none. That's what I said to the reporter today, or was it Ministry of Information this afternoon? There has been no reshuffle.
So this announcement that was made quoting you was done without any gazetted ministerial assignments?
No, there has not been any. There has been no reshuffle. I told them this afternoon that the reshuffle happens after the president has been advised. We are commissioned to perform the roles we are in cabinet, to look after those portfolios. that are assigned to us.
Exactly. So my question, without gazetting ministerial assignments, the release was just to show an intention?
No, there was no release. I did not authorize any release.
So you did not authorize the Friday
No.
night release?
No,
It was released without your knowledge?
without my knowledge.
Which,
And I don't even know, I didn't even see it. I don't refer to Facebook and all those things.
SODELPA ministers, they have told through their party that one minister found out at midnight Friday and another on Saturday morning. They would definitely be concerned finding out and not knowing what's the reality. Are you concerned about that?
I am concerned, and I was in Australia at the time.
Why change the AG and Minister for Lands? There was an intention.
There was an intention because they're both legalistic in that sense. I mean, there's a lot of legal work in lands and also as Attorney General. And before the initial assignment of responsibilities in December last year, I had consulted with Honorable Sorongo. He told me there were a few things that he had to straighten out. And later on in the term, he was my first choice anyway at the time because I knew him, and he had been in practice a long time that I knew of at the time. I was not aware that the current AG was also performing as a magistrate and doing very well in that field. So when it comes to the selection of people to go into take up ministries in the formation of government, the leader or the one who has been voted in to be Prime Minister would have to rely on his own experience, his own understanding of the people around him, and make his choices as best as he can at the time.
You're watching Fiji Village Talk, Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Now, the issue in relation to the Constitution, where there was a requirement that if you have been found guilty by the Independent Legal Services Commission, you do not qualify. You did not know about that requirement?
I knew about that. That's why I asked Honorable Wasarong in the beginning. And he told me at the time he needed to straighten out a few things. And later on, he said that he'd cleared those. So I took it. I took his...
you didn't check it?
His word at it. And
you didn't check it?
I didn't check.
You took his word for it?
No, I didn't look for any other.
No, but I'm saying you took his word for it.
I took his word for it.
But there's a legal requirement.
Yes, I know. Then when he said, as a lawyer, as a practicing, he was practicing well before. And so when that came up, it all came up about the same time as the concern raised by the Fiji Law Society. I said, okay, let me look at this again. When I was sure that the legal advice from the Law Society had some merit, I put everything on hold and eventually decided, no, it will not work. It is against the Constitution, and I'm only sad that, well, they should be very strict, the lawyers and the Law Society, while we have in non-lawyers can have spent conviction considerations. If you've had a conviction and there has been a time where you have behaved, over that period, there can be a move to just clean up your record so that you don't have previous conviction coming up again if you have another case.
Like people, they can, 8 years after they've served their conviction, they can come back and contest the elections.
Yes.
So you thought there may be a requirement?
I thought there might be something like that with them, but there isn't, and there has not been any change to the requirement. So, no, I'll not have that change.
There's another question here about the RFMF commander writing to the Home Affairs Minister, that's his line minister, raising concerns about the AG announcement. Mr. Pio Tikonduandua had a press conference stating that the issues raised were raised with you and also discussed with the commander upon your return from Australia. He had a press conference, also confirmed that following that the requirements will be met. Can you confirm whether the RFM letter also played a part in you deciding to hold back on a planned reshuffle?
There is no direct communication line between the commander and me. He communicates with the line minister, the Minister for Home Affairs, who, upon receipt of the letter, alerted me and said, "Sir, Prime Minister, it's going to be very sticky. I believe we should be taking heed of the advice from the commander and also from the Law Society of Fiji."
Very sticky in terms of what the commander is saying. You've been a former commander, you've been in the military. What are your thoughts on the gravity of the situation and implications on the nation?
I think it's grave enough for him to to be in touch with his minister. And that is very responsible for the commander to do that. It is only, and the minister immediately alerted me to it. So that's another point of consideration during my deliberations on the matter.
Some people definitely are saying that, the government may have made the decision after the pressure from RFMF. Are you changing things now where the RFMF is ready to come and have discussion with your line minister and those views are taken into account?
All those count, all those we listened to, and we boasted, we advertised the fact, we told everybody, we are a government that listens. In this case, we listened to the Law Society and we listened to the Minister for Home Affairs who brought the concerns of the commander, and all those add up and give me confidence in making the decision that there should be no change.
What is your next step regarding the Attorney General? Do you really need to change the AG?
No, there is no change in AG.
So there won't be any change?
There will not be any change.
You said you're still having discussions, so there won't be any change?
No, there is no change.
Why change the Minister for Education and
There is none also on that. Because
you had showed an intention that you wanted to change.
Yes, and the SODELPA, quite rightly, came up. They had not been consulted. So I consulted, or the leader of the SODELPA party asked for consultation. We did that with the leader of the National Federation Party, although there was no change involving their members. We had a tripartite meeting, and we all said, okay, in that case, we stay where we are.
Now, another issue you would have seen, and I had sent you the message and question regarding this on questions raised on why remove Linda Tambuya as leader of government in Parliament. The Fiji Women's Crisis Centre called for answers from you, saying you're the captain of the ship, you need to answer, because they say Tambuya deserves to be in that role, and is concerned that a woman who has done well and secured a lot of votes, one of the women with that position, why was she removed from the position?
The leader of government business is a very responsible position in Parliament, and he worked the liaison between the party or the government and the Speaker, and there has been some discomfort in the relationship between government and the Honourable Speaker because of the conduct of our leader of government business. So I thought it was not that Honourable Tambuya did not perform her role. It's just that some of the decisions we took as a government, based on her advice, were not very that the Honourable Speaker was not comfortable with. And we as a business committee had contributed perhaps to that in asking for changes, but there were some that were unilaterally taken by the Honourable Linda Tambuya, which was uncomfortable for the Honourable Speaker. So he is our Speaker. We nominated him and we voted for him. So we must support him in his role as the Speaker of the House.
When you say unilateral decisions, you as Prime Minister did not know?
Honourable Tambuya went ahead and did.
So you as Prime Minister did not know about some decisions?
No, and I realized that something was wrong the way the Speaker, the Honourable Speaker, was addressing us.
What were these decisions?
His decision was to go on because it come to his notice, and there were minor things perhaps, but procedurally important.
But what were those decisions?
Just some matters on the order paper.
In the flow of the order paper?
the flow of the order paper and some things that were
Or
not.
what should be on the order paper?
Yes, some of those, particularly in the report in the last session.
What in particular?
There were 2 reports or 4 reports, and only 2 for discussion that day, and 2 were delayed. It's normal, but then the speaker should have been well informed beforehand.
So based on that, the discomfort being caused, you had to make the
Yes,
decision.
I had to make that. And everybody in Parliament should know that they're not indispensable.
What's your message to the Women's Crisis Center who's saying that you're removing a woman from a position who is doing well?
That was not reserved for any woman. It was, she's an ordinary member of the House, and she has performed well as Minister for Women. So that has no impact on her performance as a cabinet minister.
Mr. Prime Minister, are you concerned about the performance of some of your cabinet ministers?
I have been, and I've spoken to them. But that's all I have.
Which
I
ministers are those?
I know, I will not tell you. That is between them and me.
The people of Fiji would like to know.
No, they should not. That is how they voted for us to get in. And I tell them that. If I'm not happy with the way they're performing, I tell them.
You will take action against them?
Yes.
And have they stepped back into line if you are not happy with that?
Yes, I've brought my concerns to their attention, and many of them, in fact, all of them I've spoken to have behaved and performed.
If they do not behave?
Then there will be the next move. At the moment, they're doing well.
There are now issues raised about requirements, some requirements under the Constitution for judge, the acting DP. A letter is circulating from the Fiji Law Society. What is being done about this?
That's been done, and I've consulted with the Attorney General, and that is a matter for the Judicial Services Commission and also the Constitutional Officers Commission, and they will be brought back to the COC.
To look into those Judicial Services Commission issues and the COC.
Correct.
Now, just a question on who is vetting appointments for legal requirements and merit. Is there a system in place? Do we need one? Are the AG or the Solicitor General consulted based on the legal requirements?
We make our nominations, and the Secretariat of the COC would vet those recommendations. And in the same recommendation, we would have asked for the consent of those that we're going to be nominating, and whether they know anything that will make them unsuitable for those recommended positions. And they do that. They come up and they send our CVs. Their CVs are forwarded to the COC Secretariat. They look through those and do their own background checks. And if they're okay, they're okay.
The COC, of course, is dealing with another issue. Sitiveni Rabuka is still suspended as a police commissioner.
Correct.
He's been cleared by the courts. In his latest case, he was acquitted. What is COC's next step in relation to Mr. Rabuka?
It will be brought back in the next COC meeting, and a clearance in the court does not mean that he will be reinstated.
He's suspended, so what's the next step for you
Next
as chair
the
of
next step
COC?
will be termination, according to the contract.
So you are looking at terminating Mr. Rabuka's
I have not.
contract?
That will be brought to us in the recommendation. But that is the option. You ask for the option.
You're watching Fiji Village Street Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
I've always resorted to drugs because of the work that I do as a coping mechanism.
You said you started sex work and drugs at the same time?
I was 12 years old.
Do you believe, based on the current situation, your salary and allowances should be reviewed and reduced?
Definitely, I think it should be reviewed to reflect what is there in the market.
Is the government of the day promoting nepotism within our community and hatred towards Indo-Fijians?
Thank you very much. The answer is no.
$1 in $3 of our taxes goes towards servicing our debt. So you can't say it's nothing.
There's also the need to do financial inclusion a bit better.
What is your message to the people who may rate you as not good enough for finals rugby?
Success doesn't just happen overnight. Fiji Village Straight Talk with Vijay Narayan, brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Medical Services.
You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight, the Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka. Mr. Rabuka, there have been concerns raised regarding overseas travel by cabinet ministers. Many are saying they are already excessive, with many ministers away this year. How is this being monitored, and will we see this continuing?
It is being monitored. I received that concern in the office. So I've asked the Secretary to Cabinet to keep a record of who is traveling when. In fact, I approve or do not approve the travel. When they come to me, I find out if they are really essential travel. As we all know, no nation is an island anymore. We all deal with things internationally or bilaterally with our development partners, so there is a need to travel. But how much will have to be monitored very closely. And I've asked the cabinet ministers to determine for themselves the importance of attending, or whether they can be, the attendance can be delegated to another to the civil servants or somebody. But we have to be there. We have to participate in international discussions about the economy, about trade, about tourism, and all those things that affect all of us. So we cannot really cut down too much, but I've asked them to be more realistic about it. We have our diplomats who are out there. Sometimes we can ask the high commissioners or ambassadors close to the area to deputize for us, to go as a head of our delegations, and they go and participate in those discussions.
Questions have been raised on how did we have you as the PM and 3 deputy PMs out of the country at the same time, and was it necessary?
We can all be away at the same time. There is no problem with that, because anybody can be asked to act in our positions, even acting as Prime Minister when I'm away. So there was really nothing wrong with the 3 DPMs away and Prime Minister going away while they were away. And I thought they would be back in time, but when I realized that they were not, by the time I left, I had to appoint Honorable Rob Live to act. While he was acting, one of the DPMs came back, but didn't change that.
One of the issues that leading up to the elections was that you'll really look at the issue of overseas travel.
Yes, we have looked at those, and that's why I gave out the advisory on travels to the honorable ministers, asking them, look, keep it to a minimum. Where you have to go, you must go. Where you do not have to go, somebody else can go or deputize for you from our embassies abroad.
What were the major achievements for you in your recent official visit to Australia, sir?
It was just strengthening the relationship. We have opened up some more doors on cooperation in one area that I really look to them for cooperation in is the defense industries, with our patrol boat program and the ability to build ships that can function as disaster relief vessels for post-disaster relief work, where they can also be manned or used by our defense personnel for transportation and also emergency assistance in times of disasters.
So also you made comments.
So they gave us some more Bushmasters, so that must have been negotiated by the RFMF directly with their military counterparts in Australia. And I tried them out. They're very useful, and it will enhance our ability to operate in our peacekeeping operations.
You also made some comments there in relation to your vision for the Pacific as a zone of peace. If you can elaborate for the people of Fiji, please.
We've always been a zone of peace, I mean, nationally. What I was trying to do then was to make the world realize that when the world said at the end of the Second World War, that is 78 years ago, and yesterday was the 78th anniversary of the United Nations and its establishment after World War II in 1945. So people have been, they were hoping they had turned their back. We had hoped that we had turned our back on big conflict and world wars. I went to the military museum and memorial site while I was in Canberra, and one word that kept coming up was no more, no more. The hope that there will no more be any war. But since the end of the Second World War, we've been fighting. And the interesting thing about it is that those that fought together on the same side in World War II are now on opposing sides. In Europe, Russia and the Allied forces fought against Germany. In the Pacific, Russia, USA and China and the British and the colonial powers of the Pacific fought against Japan. Now the conflict is between, or the competition for dominance is between China and the USA. So why have we gone that way? Why has that happened? So why? But we had been together before. So if that happened, if that happened again, it would bring back that peaceful coexistence that we hope can be the answer to all the problems we have, socio-political and also environmental. If we divert our attention and expenditure from military spending to socio-economic development, there'll be a lot of finances and a lot of effort, particularly money, going towards development, and we can fight climate change better when there is no huge expenditure on military.
Talking about climate change, the COP meeting is coming up. It was earlier announced that you will be going with the leader of the opposition, Mr. Inyas Sriratu. It's still on the cards for towards the end of the year?
Yes, it's still on the card. He may have to go, and I may have to step down. There is an invitation for the Honorable Speaker, and there's also an invitation for His Excellency the President, and I would encourage them to go, because that is the sort of level of inter-country participation that's required. It's the very pinnacle of leadership in the nations. Political leadership, yes, but we have the President there participating, and then there'll be other presidents there. And in some cases, the executive president, like the United States, etc. In our case, we do not have an executive president, but he has a lot of say on what we do. In fact, when we I consult with the president on what we're doing as far as climate change is concerned. It's very important that we have his goodwill with us as we do that. But if he actually goes, then it'll be very, very significant for the world to see the head of state of Fiji participating in that.
Why are you planning not to go?
Because my role can be performed by Zero Ratu and the technocrats that are going.
Looking at education, I wanted to talk about education. This is based on many questions coming in, and you may remember that from around July the plan was being made for you to come back on the show. So a lot of questions were coming through that we were gathering. This is in relation to education, on what is being done in relation to the curriculum, teaching standards and upskilling, and increased student indiscipline. It has become a real concern in schools. A lot of teachers are concerned about it. We know that you have made a decision on bringing in Selina Kuruleda as the Permanent Secretary for Education, who's done a lot of work in some of these specific areas. But when do we expect to see changes? Have you set some timelines and what your strategies in place in terms of education?
We're looking at the concept of the Higher Education Commission and also the Education Commission for the whole curriculum. We have seen that we have lagged behind on keeping the development of our curriculum abreast with economic development and the labor market development and the labor market demands. And those will need time to review. Now you know that we have introduced TVET because we have seen the demand for skilled workers in Fiji. We have neglected technical and vocational training for some time. So we are now trying to fill in that gap with Fiji National University and some secondary schools going back into the program. But all those things we'll need a commission to look at the whole curriculum and how to develop that. We cannot do it within 1 year. We came in December. That was only a few weeks or days from the beginning of a new school year. So in this first school year, we are looking at those. We're getting input from the educators and education institutions, and hopefully somebody will sit down. It can't even be brought into the next education year. It'll have to be smoothed out a lot.
Progressed.
Yeah.
In relation to also, you give millions of dollars to universities to ensure that there's proper teaching and to ensure that people are coming out, graduates are coming out work ready based on the standards of today. What is being done to monitor even universities?
The universities audit themselves, and internationally they're audited in the sense that they look at the course contents for various degree courses, and they can say, okay, they are on par with our universities in Australia and New Zealand. And the Ministry of Education, the higher education aspect of the ministry, will have to keep abreast with that, and also convey to the tertiary institutions we now have in Fiji that we need to either upgrade or maintain. Right now, most of our lecturers are international lecturers. They move from university to university around the world. We have our own. We have others from overseas universities, and they are those that are available in the international market. They look for work. They send in their curriculum, their CVs, and those are vetted. If they're suitable, they're taken.
So the audits will be done to ensure that we get value for money, because millions of dollars of taxpayers' money go to these universities.
Education was never cheap.
On to youths. Major concern about drugs and indiscipline, loitering, police trying to keep up. We had the police chief of operations here saying things are getting out of control. They're really concerned. How much work are you putting into youth development and making sure that we address this urgent issue?
drug problem is not unique to Fiji. It is quite universal, but that is no excuse. The degeneration of the conduct of our youth is a product of all our efforts in growing our young people to a responsible age. We can look at the family and family values, what the education and the churches and social institutions, all those contribute, or the lack of contribution from them in the growth of a young person contribute to the decline of their behavior and their responsibility as citizens of a country. So, yeah, it will have to be also a national effort. I've not received any suggestion from anyone, but I raised the concern. I raised the concern with the minister responsible for the police. One thing that's come up has been particularly in the lack of discipline, is the lack of disciplining. So we pay a lot of attention to what to do or not to do with our children as they grow up. Those are the things that will need a total participation of all the social groups, or the various societies need to get together and talk about those things.
Are there any plans to have these discussions at a seminar, or organize something to get like-minded groups or varying groups together to have discussions?
I've raised the concern with the ministers responsible, and hopefully they're already working on it.
Must be one of their KPIs.
We have not set it as a KPI, but I just want them to answer my questions.
I'll talk about racial unity, and people have asked about focusing on real racial unity. Your comments on people saying racist policies and agenda exist in the coalition government. What avenues are available if people feel that racial or religious bias has taken place in appointments or decision making?
I would like to think that we have moved away from that. Those that see race in what we do are racists.
You didn't answer my question. What are the avenues available if people do see or feel or they are grieved by it?
That is their concern. That's their problem. We do not do anything based on race. As far as I'm concerned, we are not basing any decisions on anything racial.
That's your stance, sir. But how can people take a matter further if they feel they are grieved by something?
They can bring it to us, and all I can do is tell them, look, this was purely based on merit. And if they cannot accept that, I cannot do anything else to change their mind.
So they can go straight to the Prime Minister's office?
They can come to me, yes.
And if they
I
have
will direct them
in
to
terms of redress?
Yes, for redress.
Now, questions have come through also from different people about alleged favoritism in appointments made in education and health ministries. Have you received any letters of concern regarding teachers' appointments or nurses leaving and the concerns about the huge influx and the people departing?
I have been informed of the nurses and teachers leaving, but not the reasons for their leaving and they're leaving the profession or leaving the country.
So are you planning to have any meetings, specific meetings, knowing that a number of experienced nurses are leaving our health sector?
I have asked the minister, and the response I get is that they do the same work overseas and get better pay.
What are the strategies in place for Fiji?
We can only pay them according to the strength of our economy, and also in comparison, when we compare what they do, the workload and professional requirement for the work they do against other ministries or other professions. And, we do that for the wage earners. We try and set a minimum wage. We also try and classify the professions and pay them what we can afford and what we feel they are worth.
You have a strategy in place in terms of the, as you said, you also have received information of teachers and nurses leaving and to fill the void?
I have made the recommendations to the Public Service Commission when they go and make the interviews, and also the salary structures, how much of the salaries we give them aimed at retaining, and what sort of structured pay rises do we have to reward continuous service and also retain them and keep them working, knowing that they will get a raise when they get to this seniority in service.
Proper succession planning.
Yes.
And issues there. Money is an issue, definitely, for
It is.
government.
It is. It is. They look at how much they would get overseas, and very few of us actually look at the purchasing power of the dollar. When you go overseas, for example, last week I spoke to a group of young people working in a meatworks, and they were promised $21 an hour when they arrived, but were immediately paid 23. And the minimum now is 25. They're getting 27, so they're happy. And from that amount, they look after their families at home with remittances. They look at their own well-being and welfare while they're out there. So lifestyle expectations also goes up, and lifestyle expenditure also goes up. So, but most of them save something when they come back.
The issue about civil service upskilling, pay and services, you also had said you're looking into that. The retirement age moved to 60. The other issue was in relation to performance and service delivery. How much work is going into that?
We have started at the PS level and director level with our direct involvement as Minister responsible for the public service, and my permanent secretary, Mr. Parmesh, and we have started that. So it is beginning to rotate now, with another group coming up pretty soon in another ministry. And there is also a suggestion that we hook up with other jurisdictions that have continuous, progressive training in their civil service. We used to have that in the civil services of the past. When I was Prime Minister, there were set examinations, H1, H2, and so on, with the civil servants. And before you get to the next bar or the next level of the next grade, you have to pass these examinations, and we need to bring those back.
So I heard the exams are back, the civil service exams.
They must be back and progressively reviewed, because the demands will keep changing. We're no longer, as I said it before, we're no longer an island. We are interacting with the rest of the world at the same time, and we expect it to be performing at the same level and the same efficiency as they are performing in their civil service.
You're watching Fiji Village Street Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. We'll be back after this break.
to elevate your event with Total Event Company's top-notch gear hire services. From a stunning 12 by 12 meter adjustable stage and impressive 13 by 13 meter production roof, we've got your event covered. Our gear can fit any venue, big or small. Need tents? We offer 3 by 3 meter pagodas, 6 by 3 meter tents, and a grand 15 by 30 meter marquee tent. Turn your vision into reality. Choose Total Event Company for gear that makes your event shine. Visit the Total Event Company Facebook page or dial 3314766 to get in touch with us.
Welcome back. You're watching Fiji Village Straight Talk. I'm Vijay Narayan. Our guest tonight, Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka. Mr. Rabuka is addressing a number of issues sent by you as well, a number of questions that have come through over the past few months, as we had promised you that he will be back in the studio to answer those questions. Now, Mr. Rabuka, from the elections, even leading up to the last budget that was announced earlier this year, there was a major smear campaign against you that you will bring back race-based scholarships. Instead, scholarships are now being given to all eligible Fijian students. They're being provided to everyone who qualifies. What are your comments to the people who were in doubt of what you were saying earlier?
Well, we have kept our word on that, and scholarships are now based on merit across the races. And TAL is now gone, where everybody went to school, whether you like to or not, whether you qualify at the end of it or not, but you'd be left with a huge debt to pay off, and you'd not be allowed to leave Fiji if you didn't pay it off. So those are gone, but we would like to continue to be able to make education available to our people. It is also part of the Sustainable Development Goals, education for all. But appropriate education for all is what the government will have to consider. You cannot send everybody to do high cost education courses if they're not suitably qualified. So they'll have to qualify before they can go to those courses. And it got nothing to do with race.
I want to talk about your coalition working arrangement. While you were in Australia, questions were raised by the SODELPA General Secretary, Viliame Takayawa. He raised the issue about writing 5 letters of concern, getting no response. We had sent the questions regarding that to you. They're saying that they were expecting better consultation, more consultation. That's why they chose to go with the People's Alliance as far as the coalition is concerned. Are there regular meetings and communication going on between the coalition parties?
We interact as leaders. I do not deal with general secretaries of the parties. I deal with the parliamentary leaders. So I deal with with Professor Biman Prasad and also Deputy Prime Minister Ngavoka.
You're concerned about other party executives talking about coalition agreement and things not being met?
That should be conveyed to me by the leader of the party.
And as far as you are concerned, there's no concerns that have come through in this form?
We have spoken about some of them, and they have been met, they've been answered. Those ones that they are talking about now, I do not know why they are complaining about them. There's been no, they got the 3 ministries they asked for. That's why I was thinking of just changing Vastu and Honorable Ronrondo. But now that we're not going to go ahead, we'll just stay there. And those are the 3 ministries they asked for, and 1 DPM post.
So in terms of the Minister for Itoke Affairs and Minister for Education, what was the reasoning behind your intention to change?
There were a few things that the Minister for Education was not comfortable with. and did not implement instructions. He has explained to me, but the explanations are not really satisfactory, so I've given him time to abide by those instructions from me.
Your instructions?
Yeah, my instructions.
He's not abiding by your instructions?
No, not yet. He promised to do that, but he has not.
What are those instructions?
No, that's an interministerial concern. But I'm looking at it from a leadership and of the coalition is concerned. They have the ministries, and I expect them to perform well in those ministries that they've asked for. So when they do not, according to the standards set and according to the law, I bring that to their attention, and also to the attention of the political party leader, in this case, Honorable Deputy Prime Minister Ngavoka, and he has taken it upon himself to get his colleague to abide by those which are requirements of the various laws.
What if he doesn't do it?
And he'll come back and tell me he will not be able to do it, and I'll take the next step.
And what is that?
One is just to remove them from cabinet. They stay in parliament because that is a party issue, not a prime minister's issue.
Because you, at the end of the day, you are making it quite clear into about 10 months of being in government, you want action.
Yes.
So if your ministers are not acting,
correct,
you will take the step.
Yes, I will have to take that. It's
Did you play a strategic move last week by sort of firing a warning shot?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was just straightforward. Over time, he knows that I have not been happy with his not carrying out the instructions according to the law, according to the advice given by him. So he was expecting something like that to happen. So we've had our chat after the cabinet meeting yesterday, and we know he understands what I require, and he understands the consequences if he does not.
What are your comments on people pushing the narrative that the RFMF has to take out your government because your government is seen as racist and is not following the constitutional requirements?
Some people may say that. It's up to the RFMF to ascertain whether those allegations are true or not. And if they want to carry out any actions, that is their responsibility, based on what they believe.
Well, they've said that they will always uphold the Constitution.
Correct.
And again, coming back to the issue about you've got this healthy relationship now where the commander can come across to the line minister, raise issues of concern?
All the time. He should be doing that all the time. Not only when issues such as this come up. He should be open to his minister all the time.
A lot of concerns about the health sector, Mr. Prime Minister, you would know. What steps are being taken as we have equipment, skills shortage? We talked about a number of people leaving. What is being done to address the huge number of experienced people leaving and the shortages? We
accept the fact that those things are not up to scratch at the moment, and 1 year is not enough to turn it around. The repairs and the upgrading of the facilities and the filling of vacancies, those things take time. And we can advertise. We have to look after our own people first. But if we have to, we'll have to look abroad. There are doctors and there are nurses looking for work overseas, also suitably qualified to work in Fiji. Whether they will accept the remunerations we offer in Fiji or not, that is the question. Because we have a budget for our nurses, and we have an establishment for the nurses and doctors, and a ratio of doctors and patients, nurses and patients, that we have to try and maintain in our status as a developing nation. And we can only afford so much depending on the size of the economy of the country.
Talking about immigration changes, you announced earlier today cabinet decisions, and of course you've had certain laws where descendants of those who have lived in Fiji and also those people who have been registered in the VKB about their children. If you can explain further about how you managed to get this to try to entice those who have left Fiji, who are away from Fiji, the special connection to Fiji, and how you trying to get them back.
We're not really trying to entice them to come back. That's something that they should exercise according to their own free will. But if they want to exercise it, we must have the system where they can come straight into, we correct or update the Walankambula, Native Lands Commission registers. We upgrade those, and those that wish to get their citizenship again, they'll be given those considerations depending on their original status or the original status of their parents or grandparents. On the other hand, those that were residents, whose parents were residents or citizens, and wish to come back 1 generation later or 2 generations later, we need to upgrade our data and database so that we can just at the entry point, you press something and you can, yes, so-and-so's grandfather was a citizen, they lived here and there, and they can ease up the administration of the documentation.
So for the understanding of people, if their parents or their grandparents, so for the, don't go too far, the parents, either of the parent is a citizen of Fiji, and they want to come back to Fiji, and the children are not born in Fiji, what happens then?
That's okay. They can still be considered. If they they get registered first, their children automatically become children of Fiji citizens.
In terms of police operations, you must have heard it, and we've discussed about it, that there's always a concern about more vehicles and officers, and in the last budget that was given based on the amount that could be allocated, the latest reports say that some serious crimes are increasing, specifically opportunistic crimes like break-ins, burglaries, robbery with violence, concern about violence against women and children. How is your government looking at addressing this, as this is becoming a concern? It continues to be a concern.
It continues to be a concern, but then we have, according to our status as a developing nation, there is a ratio of police officers to citizens, which is expected to work in a policing situation. And all aspects of policing, preventive, correctional, and also public relations work. So at the moment we are manned up to what we can man. And if there is to be an increase in that, there will be a disproportionate increase in the allocation of budgets to the police. At the moment, it's proportional to what we can afford, what we should be expected to be doing for our country.
You announced a record cane payment payout for the people, cane farmers. If you can talk about your objectives in terms of the sugar industry.
That should inject some more life into it. We know that in the recent past, people have been moving away from the industry, whether it's farming or transportation and even working in the mills. We would like to rejuvenate the industry, the sugar industry, because we would like to increase the acreage and increase the tonnage per acre, because it won't only be going towards sugar. We have in mind a plan to produce ethanol in one of the mills. If we're going to dedicate one of the mills for ethanol production, that would be a very great thing for the economy of Fiji. Because if we can put, use in Fiji ethanol 5, say, that's 5% of the fuel we use is made up of ethanol input, ethanol 10. And ethanol 5 reduces our fuel import by 5%. Ethanol 10 reduces our fuel import by 10%. And the fuel import is great, big. So whatever we can do, and this small increase in in the tonnage payment. In fact, it's a wrap-up, wash-up payment, as they call it in the industry. That's the last payment that should go out by the 31st of August, according to the master award that was worked out many years ago. And we will keep our promise that we will look at that again. But it's also motivational in the sense that it will get a lot of people back into the farms, working on the farms, improving their production, and also raising, improving our economy.
Now, a lot of questions have come through, and we managed to ask as many as we could. We apologize. We cannot keep going through. Do another one. I can do another one. This is in relation to the drug problem. Hard drugs are now getting easier, as it was earlier stated. The question being sent about methamphetamine. There's also labs here. Recently, there was a person convicted. He's in New Zealand, in the New Zealand prison, based on information that he had a pharmaceutical chain here. Outlets and concerns are being raised about the drug ring that exists in Fiji for quite some time, and what is this government doing to break it?
Okay, that one is at the moment allegations and postings and reports in the newspapers, whether they have been substantiated by proper reports to spur investigations at home in Fiji. I do not know, because that will be handled by the police and the Minister for Home Affairs, who reports to us in Cabinet. But yes, the concerns have been raised. The person has been convicted on some other, whether they're related to the activities in Fiji or not, I do not know. Whether they were raised as criminal activity in Fiji, which would call for Fiji to ask for their extradition.
I can give you some background.
Sorry?
I can give you some background now. Fiji Financial Intelligence Unit, they did, and you could ask them through Fiji Financial Intelligence Unit,
FIU.
Intelligence Agency, had provided the previous government from 2017 to 2022 these alleged suspected transactions that were occurring, and also it's proved in open court. We got Auckland District Court documents showing that drugs were being sent from here to manufacture methamphetamine. So it's an interesting one. I mean, your government definitely to look at it. We'll wrap up the show. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. I'd like to get that answer on the next time the Prime Minister will be on the show, and we're talking about towards the end of this year, as we go closer to the first year of the coalition government. Mr. Prime Minister has agreed to appear on that, and we're hoping to get the other two party leaders who are in the coalition government, NFP leader and Deputy Prime Minister Professor Biman Prasad, and SODELPA leader and Deputy Prime Minister Mr. Vijay Narayan. So wait for that one. We'll get the confirmation from the other two Deputy Prime Ministers, Prime Minister confirming for that. Have a great evening until next week.